In the vast, untamed steppes of Central Asia, where the horizon seemed to blur the line between sky and earth, a child was born who would one day cast a shadow across the known world. The endless plains, with their fierce winds and harsh winters, were a fitting cradle for one destined to become a force of nature himself. Born around 406 AD to a noble family of the Huns, this child would rise to be one of history's most feared and enigmatic figures, Attila the Hun, the man who would earn the ominous title of the Scourge of God. From his earliest days, the wild beauty and brutal challenges of the steppe forged Attila's character. He grew up among a people hardened by their environment, a nomadic tribe that valued strength, cunning, and ferocity above all. The Huns were warriors, and their way of life demanded resilience and adaptability. Attila absorbed these traits like a sponge, his mind and body shaped by the rigors of his upbringing. As he matured, Attila's natural leadership qualities became evident. He was not merely a warrior, he was a strategist, a master of the art of war, and a manipulator of men's fears. His rise to power was marked by cunning and ambition, traits that would define his reign. The steppes that had nurtured him as a child would later serve as the launching pad for his conquests, as he sought to expand his domain far beyond the borders of his homeland. Attila's story is one of relentless ambition and unmatched ferocity. He was a man driven by a singular vision, to dominate the world, to make the earth tremble beneath the hooves of his armies, and to ensure that his name would be remembered through the ages. And in the process, he would indeed shake the very foundations of the Roman Empire, leaving behind a legacy of terror and awe that endures to this day. Attila's early life is enveloped in the shadows of legend, a mysterious prologue to the saga of a man destined to be both idolized and loathed. Born into a world where survival depended on strength and cunning, Attila was steeped in the harsh realities of life from the moment he drew breath. The winds of the steppe, cold and unyielding, seemed to whisper his future as he grew, swift, relentless, and indomitable. From his earliest years, Attila was immersed in the martial traditions of the Huns, a people who lived and breathed warfare. Before he could even walk, he was placed on horseback, learning to navigate the world from the back of a steed, an extension of his own body. Riding was not just a skill for the Huns. It was a way of life, a crucial element of their identity and survival. By the time he was a young boy, Attila could handle a horse with the ease of a seasoned warrior, galloping across the plains with a fearless spirit. The bow, too, became an extension of Attila's arm. The Huns were known for their exceptional archery, and Attila was no exception. He practiced tirelessly, mastering the art of the composite bow, a weapon of extraordinary power in the hands of an expert. His aim became as precise as a hawk's strike, his arrows flying with lethal accuracy. This skill would serve him well in the years to come, as he led his people into countless battles. But Attila's education went beyond mere physical prowess. He was taught the brutal tactics that defined Hun warfare: swift raids, psychological warfare, and merciless slaughter. The Huns understood the power of terror, and young Attila learned that fear was as effective a weapon as the sword. He observed, absorbed, and honed these tactics, preparing for the day when he would rise to lead his people. Attila's childhood, though obscured by the mists of time, laid the foundation for the man he would become, a leader whose name would echo through history, a figure who would carve out an empire with blood and fire, driven by the lessons he had learned in the windswept plains of his youth. The steppe was not only his home, but also his training ground. The Huns, known for their swift and ruthless raids, taught Attila the importance of mobility and surprise in warfare. His early years were spent honing his skills, learning the art of psychological warfare, and understanding the value of alliances and betrayal. In 434 AD, after the death of his uncle, Rugila, Attila and his brother Bleda became co-rulers of the Huns. Attila and his brother Bleda inherited a vast empire stretching from the Alps and the Baltic to near the Caspian Sea. Their first significant action was negotiating a peace treaty with the Eastern Roman Empire at Margus, doubling the Roman tribute to 700 pounds of gold annually. Attila launched attacks on the Eastern Roman Empire in 441 and again in 443 due to unpaid tribute, leading to the devastation of cities like Singidunum, Belgrade, Nisus, Nish, and Philippopolis. With the Huns firmly united under his iron grip, Attila cast his gaze toward the Roman Empire, a once unassailable giant now teetering precariously on the brink of collapse. To Attila, this was not merely an opportunity, it was destiny. The empire that had once dominated the known world was now a weakened beast, ripe for the taking. Attila's strategy was as terrifying as it was effective. He would not merely raid the Roman territories, but annihilate them, leaving nothing but ashes and fear in his wake. After significant victories, Attila imposed a harsher peace treaty on the Eastern Romans in 443, increasing the annual tribute to 2,100 pounds of gold. Their partnership was uneasy, a cauldron of simmering tension waiting to boil over. Attila, always the more ambitious and ruthless of the two, quickly grew tired of sharing power. In a plot steeped in suspense and treachery, Bleda was mysteriously killed. Historians speculate it was by Attila's own hand. Now, with no one to challenge him, Attila stood alone as the undisputed leader of the Huns. After killing Bleda around 445 AD, Attila launched a larger campaign in 447, targeting Lower Scythia and Moesia. Despite suffering losses, he devastated the Balkan provinces and pushed into Greece. Attila led his forces with unmatched ferocity, his war machine a relentless tide sweeping through the Balkans. City after city fell to the Huns, their walls crumbling under the force of Attila's onslaught. The Huns moved with a speed that bewildered their enemies, striking with the precision of a predator. But it wasn't just the physical destruction that marked Attila's campaign. It was the psychological warfare. He understood that fear was the most potent weapon of all. As the Huns advanced, rumors of their brutality spread like wildfire. The mere mention of Attila's name was enough to send shivers down the spines of even the bravest warriors. Tales of cities burned to the ground, of inhabitants slaughtered or taken as slaves, of unimaginable horrors inflicted upon those who dared resist, circulated through the empire. Mothers whispered his name to quiet their children at night, and cities braced for his arrival as if facing a cataclysmic force of nature. Attila's reputation as a harbinger of doom was not just legend, it was a carefully crafted part of his strategy. He knew that a frightened enemy was an easier enemy to conquer, and he wielded his terrifying image like a weapon. The Roman Empire, once the greatest power on earth, now found itself paralyzed by the specter of Attila, a man who seemed less a mortal leader and more a vengeful god, come to exact retribution on a crumbling world. In this campaign of devastation, Attila forged his legacy as the Scourge of God, a title that would echo through the ages. His name became synonymous with destruction, his very presence a harbinger of death. The Roman Empire, already weakened by internal strife and external pressures, now faced a force that seemed unstoppable, a force that would leave an indelible mark on history, remembered as the man who brought the once mighty Rome to its knees. In 451 AD, Attila made his most audacious move yet. With an army of hundreds of thousands, he crossed the Rhine River and invaded Gaul. In 451, possibly motivated by a marriage proposal from Honoria, the sister of the Western Roman Emperor Valentinian III, who sought to escape an arranged marriage. The battle was fierce, bloody, and brutal. Attila, riding his horse at the front of his army, was a vision of war incarnate. The Huns, with their unmatched speed and ferocity, clashed with the Roman-Visigoth alliance in a fight that raged for hours. The air was thick with the cries of the dying and the clashing of steel. Despite heavy losses on both sides, the battle ended in a stalemate, a rare check on Attila's otherwise unstoppable advance. His forces were eventually stopped by a coalition led by the Roman general Aetius and the Visigothic king Theodoric I at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains, resulting in Attila's first and only defeat. The Romans, now fully aware of the threat he posed, hastily formed an alliance with the Visigoths. The stage was set for one of history's most epic battles, the Battle of the Catalonian Plains. But Attila was not finished. The following year, he turned his sights on Rome itself, launching an invasion of Italy. Attila's invasion of Italy in 452 resulted in the sacking of several cities, including Milan City, and it seemed that the Eternal City was doomed. However, in a surprising turn of events, Attila was persuaded to halt his advance by Pope Leo I, who met with him personally. The details of their meeting remain a mystery, but the outcome was clear. Attila withdrew, sparing Rome from his wrath. Attila the Hun's reign was a period marked by sheer brutality and unyielding dominance. He ruled with an iron fist, uniting not just the Huns, but also the Ostrogoths, Alans, and Bulgars under a formidable empire that cast a shadow over much of Eastern and Central Europe. Attila's approach to warfare was ruthless. He believed in total destruction, often razing Roman cities to the ground and showing no mercy to their inhabitants. His tactics were not just about physical conquest, they were psychological as well. He used fear as a weapon, ensuring that his enemies were as terrified of his reputation as they were of his armies. Attila's thirst for blood and destruction was legendary. He is often described as a figure who took pleasure in the torment of others, his eyes gleaming with sadistic delight as he watched his enemies suffer. This aspect of his personality made him a figure of dread in the ancient world, a man who ruled not just by the sword, but by the power of fear. His empire, built on violence and intimidation, was a testament to his ability to wield terror as a tool of control, ensuring that his name would be remembered with a mixture of awe and horror for centuries to come. Attila's death in 453 AD was as sudden and mysterious as his life had been. On the night of his wedding to a young bride named Ildiko, Attila died unexpectedly. The exact cause of his death is still debated. Some say he suffered a severe nosebleed and choked in his sleep, while others whisper of assassination. His warriors, in their grief, cut their faces and hair, mourning the loss of their great leader in the only way they knew, through blood. Attila's body was buried in a triple-layered coffin, gold, silver, and iron, and laid to rest in a grave whose location remains unknown to this day, buried in the heart of the steppe, perhaps under the waters of a river that was diverted to hide it. His death marked the end of the Huns' dominance in Europe, as their empire quickly fragmented without his iron hand to hold it together. Attila's legacy is one of terror and mystery. To the Romans, he was the embodiment of barbarism and destruction, a force of chaos that threatened to unravel the very fabric of civilization. But to the Huns and other nomadic peoples, he was a hero, a great leader who brought them wealth, power, and glory. Even today, Attila remains a figure of fascination, a man who rose from the obscurity of the steppes to challenge the might of Rome, leaving behind a legacy that continues to captivate and terrify. His story is a testament to the power of leadership, the impact of strategy, and the enduring mystery of history. Enjoyed this video? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support makes all the difference.